Hello gamers, Perry here. Final Fantasy XIV patch 6.4 is on the horizon, and that means it's once again time to feed our inner hoarders and doomsday preppers and set ourselves up for day one PvP supremacy. No, I'm not talking about playing Dark Knight in Frontlines. I'm talking about the only kind of PvP that matters, the market board. Usual disclaimer, crystal balls are still outside of my budget, and these predictions are based entirely on previous patch data. So if Square Enix decides to throw the script out the window, I'll be too poor to take responsibility for our financial ruin. Patch 6.4 is bringing us the new Savage tier, which is very exciting because that means new food, new potions, and most importantly, new crafted combat gear that we can use to extort those silly week 1 raiders out of their gil. This patch, being a raid patch, and being the final raid set, means things will look a bit different than my last video, where there was no new combat gear, and instead where there was new crafter and gatherer gear. As usual though, I'll go through a list of my recommendations and talk a little about my logic behind these ideas. So let's get started. The first item on the list is Earthbreak Aethersand. This is comparable to 11 Strike Aethersand from Shadowbringers, which was used pretty extensively in the final set of combat gear, so we can expect this to get used again. How much of this you will want will depend on how many gear sets you plan on crafting. I think a safe estimation is 25 to 30 Aethersand per combat gear set. As usual, if you can, I would get some extra, so you can sell the overpriced dirt on patch drop to the poor saps who didn't watch this video. Next up, let's talk Tomestones. This patch is slated to bring us a new weekly Tomestone variety, and per standard procedure, that means astronomy tomes will become obsolete and causality will be uncapped and used to buy a plethora of new materials that will be required for the new gear. There will also be an exchange for astronomy tomes that lets you trade them in for causality as well, so we want to make sure that we are capped on both types before the patch drop. If you're a lowly peasant like me sitting at 0 causality as of this video's arrival, that means you have just enough weeks left to cap out before the expected drop date of May 23rd. So start saving up. For the third item on our list, I'd like to apologize in advance if this causes any melding-induced PTSD, but we need to talk about Materia. If you're watching this guide, I'm assuming you already have a fully melded Crafter and Gatherer set. If you don't, I recommend checking out the endgame gear progression guide linked in the description, as I won't be able to cover all that info here. So first up, Crafter and Gatherer Materia. With new food and potions coming out, it is possible that in order to effectively craft the new items, you may find yourself needing to switch your high-end melds up a little bit. So, I recommend keeping a small stockpile of Crafter Gatherer Materia on hand in case you need some tweaks. Unlike combat materia, old Crafter and Gatherer Materia tends to stay useful, so it's less important to sell extra off. Alternatively, you can also stock up on Scrip items and trade those in for materia as needed. Alternatively, Island Sanctuary remains a great source of these materia as well. Secondly, there's combat materia. And no, I don't mean meld this to your crafter gear. Yes, I'm talking to you. You know who you are. This will most likely be the last time that level 9 and 10 materia are used in top-end raiding. This means that there will likely be a demand spike at the start of the patch, followed by a permanent decline over the course of the next patch or so. So, if you have large stockpiles of combat materia sitting around, it's probably a good idea to sell off any excess you don't need and only hang on to a small stock for later remelds. Now for item number 4, Crafter Scrip. Anyone who's done patch prep like this before will be completely unsurprised to see this here. As usual, stock up on purple Scrip items as there will most likely be several new Scrip only items required for the new food and potions. Remember, you can use your retainers to hold the collectibles while we wait for the patch to drop. Related to this, while grip gel isn't expected to be needed for anything next patch, it's unclear just how many, if any, immutable solutions will be needed. Shadowbringer's Sublime solution isn't a one-to-one equivalent in this case, and we've already seen some deviations from the usage of immutable solutions this expansion. Personally, I will be stocking up on some just in case, but I think it's really a 50-50 whether the new items will need them. If you want to be conservative, you can just make some extra Scrip items and buy them as needed when the patch drops. And now for item number 5 on our list, Precrafts. And by Precrafts, I mean we get to play the Precrafts guessing game. If this patch follows the same formula as Shadowbringers, almost all of the needed Precrafts will be from materials newly introduced with the patch, and the only current items that will potentially be needed are the base, regular node Precraft items and in very small quantities. However, Endwalker crafting has made new use of old alkahests, in that the grade 5 stat alkahests have been used to craft grade 7 potion variants. It's possible that something like this will occur again, perhaps even to make the latest alkahest variants as well. So if you have the time, these might be a good item to have as a just in case. Here is my list of pre-crafts that I will be stockpiling. I expect quantities to be very low, so you probably don't need this many, but it never hurts to be safe. For the alkahests, obviously you will only need to look at the ones corresponding to the items you want to craft. As usual, remember to craft these in high quality, as the percentage boost will help when crafting the new gear. And finally, the last item on our list is Bicolor Gemstones. This is sort of related to the previous item in that a lot of those basic pre-crafts are made from gemstone materials. However, in addition to that, I think it's likely that the new food or potions will need gemstone mats as well, so I recommend getting your fates in before the new patch drop. And there you have it, one homegrown, bona fide recipe for either day one market board dominance or financial disaster. It's up to Square Enix to decide which. As a quick recap, we have collect Earthbreak Aethersand, cap your Tomestones, both causality and astronomy, save up a little crafter and gatherer materia, and sell your extra combat materia, stockpile some crafter scrip items, both white and purple scrip, make your high quality pre-crafts via the link in the description, and stock up on some bicolor gemstones for those ingredients. As usual, the lists are linked in the description, and I promise I'll remember to lock them this time, so feel free to reference or copy those while you get to work. Happy prep work, and I'll see you in 6.4.